Good morning, everyone. It's Tess, and today I'm going to do tip 90. And what I'm going to talk about today is developing a walking routine. And today I think I'm going to focus on like posture. And the reason this is coming up is with it being spring and getting into summer. My mom and I always joke that I walk my mom, and we've started walking again. And I've kind of noticed that we're trying to keep with the same to follow what we were doing in the fall before the winter came on, and I think we want to be careful that we're reintroducing walking in a more healthy way. So what I decided is I wanted to do a little research on the best way to develop strong walking routines and make sure that as we start this new season, we do it strong so that we can continually improve during the upcoming season. So what I did is I found a couple articles in it's called Very Well Fit, and one of them was from March 27th of this year, and the other one was from June 17th of 2020. And it was the same author. And what she kind of says is I'll kind of go over the quick part of what tips are to get a routine started, and then I want to talk about posture because I think posture is really important. I know my mom has issues with her back sometimes, so I just think that's an important area to focus on. But developing a walking routine, the tips that are given are that number one, you want to focus on good walking posture and technique. So that's why I wanted to look at posture, and I'll look at that in a little more detail in a few minutes. But what it kind of says is what you want to do when you're really first starting a walking routine is I tend to overdo, and I think my mom tends to overdo too, so maybe that's where I got it from. It says that the best plan is to walk 5 days a week. And it really kind of talks about in week one, walking 15 minutes, but 15 minutes at a light pace, because really all you're trying to do at this point is develop a pattern, develop a routine that feels good, something that you'll continue to do long term. And then it says week two, just add 5 more minutes and keep it at a light routine. We're not trying to increase intensity. We're not trying to increase endurance. We're just trying to get a pattern set. Then in week 3, it says add 5 more minutes. So at this point, we're up to about 25 minutes. And then by week 4, you can get up to 30 minutes. Again, we're just getting started, so we're not worrying about endurance or intensity. It also does state that at any point in time, if 15 minutes if you want to stay at 15 minutes for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, stay at 15 minutes for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Only increase when it feels really comfortable for you, because all we're doing in that beginning part is developing a pattern. Once you get the pattern down, then you can start working on endurance and intensity and intervals, and if you want to jog or if you want to run. But the first part, that first month or so, is just about developing a pattern. So you got to make it something that's manageable and that you'll do. It also kind of recommends that you walk 5 days a week and that you have 2 days that you rest. And it also recommends don't make those 2 rest days back to back, like choose day 3 and day 6, but not back to back. They also talk about tracking your walks, just so you get you know you're getting 15 minutes every day and you can kind of know how you feel. 2, you'll know how many steps that is. And then 3, you can kind of also use walking apps. I know Apple has a walking app that's right on your phone. My mom has an Android and she's got walking apps on her phone. Yeah, pushing past your goals when you're ready. Because sometimes I know me and my family, we tend to set goals that are a lot harder to achieve, and then you give up, and you don't want to give up. You want to make it a permanent, feel good, and then you start to push it forward. The other thing I talked about, so 5 days a week, 2 days rest, your 2 days rest, not back to back. Warm up first, we all know that. A few minutes in the beginning, a few minutes at the end. I think a little bit of stretching, like for your hamstrings and calves after a walk, is good, because I find I wake up in the middle of the night with charley horses if I don't. And then you can kind of vary indoor walking or outdoor walking or treadmill walking. So those are just some tips to kind of get started. I wanted to focus today on posture, because I know with my mom and back issues, I think that posture is a really important thing when you're starting a walking program. Because if you get your routine down strong in the beginning, it'll just be automatic later. And one of the first things about posture, and again, this is from that Very Well Fit, and the author was Wendy Baumgardner, and she seems to have a couple articles about walking in this Very Well Fit newspaper article. But walking posture, the first thing is you want to stand straight before you even get started. Stand straight with your feet together, but slightly apart to what's a comfortable feel for you. Then you want to pretend that there's a string at the top of your head and that it's pulling you up so that your spine is straight. Because you don't want to be arching your back or leaning forward or leaning backwards when you're walking. You want it to feel like you have a string and that your body is kind of dangling and you're just walking forward. It says to suck in your stomach slightly, engaging your core, because this will also help posture. And then it also talks about keeping your pelvis neutral. You want it to not tip forward or not tip back, which the posture part will kind of help keep you there. And this will allow for the natural curve of your spine, because you don't want to hurt your back when you're walking. And I have noticed a couple of times, and my mom will talk about her back, and she does have issues. So you really want to kind of develop your pattern. Dehydration, yeah. And caffeine is not one of the, I don't drink caffeine, but I think I have to up the water on the days with the, I have to monitor if I'm getting enough water on the days that I Charlie horse. But the neutral pelvis is critical. Eyes. Too many people, and this is kind of an important one. So many people are stuck to their phones, and I see people walking with their phones all the time, and I'm like, you're going to end up hurt somewhere because you're going to hit a rock or a stone. And so it says keeping your eyes 10 to 20 feet ahead of you, and then your head will follow your eyes, because part of what you want to do is keep your chin parallel to the ground. So if your eyes are shooting ahead, your chin will naturally follow. And that's part of keeping your posture right. And then it also says, like, while you're walking, shrug your shoulders. It just kind of helps relieve tension. So if you're getting into a walking routine, or if you're reintroducing walking like my mom and I are, you might want to start with your posture. Make sure you have loose fitting clothing. Make sure your shoes are fitted right. And set up a routine that's about 5 days, starting with 15 minutes each walk, building slowly to what's comfortable so it becomes a habit that you love. And make sure that your rest days are not back to back. So if you get started right and get your pattern started right, you might find that it's something that you really truly enjoy. When my mom and I are walking, one, we always seem to find money, whether it's pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes. I've actually as much as found $20 bills walking. So, hey, that's a bonus to it. And the other thing is you can kind of see nature, birds, animals. I find 4-leaf clovers. I found 5-leaf clovers actually walking with my mom. You can see people's yards and flowers. So there's a lot of benefits to walking. But don't be like I tend to be and overdo it. Just take it in manageable steps so that you develop a habit that you never want to give up. And it's great time with my mom and I that we walk and talk. My dad will join sometimes, but most of the time he prefers to be puttering on machines, because that's his niche that he loves. But I hope you guys find this helpful. I'll just kind of do a brief review and then off to the work land. So remember, the tips to get started is walk 5 days, 2 days of break, but the break is not consecutive days in a row. Track your walks. There are lots of apps available. Warm up for the first few minutes. Make sure you have loose clothing and athletic shoes, and you can walk indoors or outdoors. And then in your posture, just make sure you're standing straight, your feet slightly together, just comfortable width apart. Feel like there's a string at your head dangling so that you're walking with good posture. Don't arch your back. Suck in your stomach slightly, because that'll engage your core and help your posture. Neutral pelvis, because you don't want to be tipping backward or forward, and that's part of posture. Focus your eyes 10 to 20 feet ahead. It'll stop you from tripping and falling, and it will also help your posture. Keep your chin parallel to the ground, again, posture. And then shrug your shoulders. That'll help relieve tension. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. Get up there and walk. It's kind of beautiful. I'm loving the budding of the trees and the flowers. And I'm hoping I have a bunch of little baby bunnies soon. For 2 of the past 3 years, I've had baby bunnies. So maybe I'll get them again this year. You guys have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend. Thanks.